welcome aboard, everybody. Man-Child here, and right alongside me, there he is, Anthony Prohaska, cover one, as we are inside the Bills. Ooh, let me change my template there, Anthony. We don't want to be in Giants mode when we're talking.
I kind of like how the
all things Buffalo Bills. There we go.
There, but the Northeast Roofing Professionals logo looks super cool with the Giants blue behind it. Like, I was digging it.
I was digging it. The blue kind of pops. I do think, but we're doing red here for the Buffalo Bills. We got a green template for the Jets, and of course, we get to see those cool helmets down there in the left corner of your screen. Very cool as we flip through the ages of years and years of the different logoed or different colored helmets for all of the teams that we are covering. But this one is Inside the Bills. We are presented by Northeast Roofing Professionals. Tonight's video brought to you by our friends at Creative Florists, part of the Allen Floral Group, with several florists across the central New York area. So go to allenfloralgroup.com for more. We'll hear from our friends at Creative in just a little bit. All right, Anthony Prohaska, there he is, cover one, talking all things Buffalo Bills. Let me come out of the chute with this question, Anthony. Is Josh Allen the best quarterback the Bills have ever had? Ooh, I know this hurts as a Bills fan to ask this question.
I tell you what's tough for me on it is so much of the game is so different now than it's between him and Jim Kelly, right? Obviously. I think for most people. But the game is so different now. And so, like, I see people talk about, the stats or like the this or the training regimens are different. The game is played completely different. The way you approach it mentally, physically, everything is so different. It's so hard to compare guys from two completely different eras with two completely different set of rules and expectations and what was asked of them. I do think there is something to be said for, granted, those Bills teams, they were very good. And they're never going to get their due because they never won a Super Bowl. But Hall of Famers on both sides of the ball, top tier guys. I do think there is something to be said for, quarterbacking a team to 4 straight Super Bowls. Granted, he had Thurman Thomas and a good offensive line and arguably the best defensive player in football on the other side of the ball. I don't know. I really don't know. I know it's a cop-out answer. It's tough because what's got me I think Allen's probably the most talented. But even that, Jim Kelly was no slouch for talent as well. Like what he did at Miami and then in the USFL before he went to the NFL. What gets me with Allen, and that is my hang up for him and kind of just in general, for as much as the defense has underperformed in the playoffs and he's played largely well, there have been a handful of moments in each playoff game, or especially the losses, where he's made some big blunders and mistakes. And so that kind of gets me out of that camp. But then I wasn't really watching the tape back then with Kelly like I am now. I was barely cognizant and awake, so I didn't know what was happening then. I don't know, man. But so between the difference in eras and things, it's hard. It's too hard for me to parse it.
And listen, I understand it's a premature question, and I'm typically not a fan of premature questions. However, let me ask you this. I'll throw a caveat in here just to make this just a little bit spicier. Try and get a commitment out of you one way or the other.
Sure.
If Josh Allen wins a Super Bowl as the Buffalo Bills quarterback, will he become the greatest quarterback in Buffalo Bills history?
Yes, especially if it's with no disrespect to the current Bills, but this iteration of the Bills, whether it's this year or kind of going forward, where there are good players, but there's nobody, James Cook is very, very good. I don't think he's as good as Thurman Thomas was back then. The Buffalo Bills have a really good offensive line. They had a good offensive line back then too. Now they have DJ Moore, but Andre Reed's a Hall of Famer. And then you had Bruce Smith and Darryl Talley and Cornelius Bennett and Shane Conlon and Bryce Paup, all these dudes. Those Bills teams were super good, and they're never going to get their due because they didn't win one. So yeah, if the Bills were to win the Super Bowl this year, I think or even in the next couple, I think it would be due to 2 major things: Josh Allen and then Jim Leonard changing the defense and doing things. But it would be largely on the back of Allen. I would give it to Allen, yes.
Yeah. See, I'm in my Knicks gear today, and of course that question was raised after the Knicks won their first championship in 53 years. Like Jalen Brunson, is he the greatest Knick?
Oh,
passing, dare I say, someone like Walt Clyde Frazier, who has 2 championships. So are you
yes.
ready? Are you ready to crown Brunson, who hasn't played and had the kind of longevity that Patrick Ewing had?
So what's
But
your
is he
answer?
already better than Ewing? And is he
Okay.
now only chasing down one guy, Walt Clyde Frazier, who has the 2 championships, the one thing that Brunson doesn't have yet? So there's a lot of discussion.
What's your answer? Is he? Where does he rank in the Knicks pantheon?
It's again just very much like the question I just asked you. It's a little soon to ask it, but being forced to answer the question, I would have to say at this moment, to me, the greatest Knick ever still remains to be Walt Clyde Frazier, because he's got the 2 titles plus the incredible numbers. I probably would put Ewing second and Brunson third, even at this point.
Okay.
Now, if Brunson gets some longevity as a Knick, and kind of piles up the points and the assists and all the different statistical things and stays a Knick for 10 years, then probably because of the championship, he passes Patrick Ewing into the number 2 slot. And now the only argument is it him or Clyde Frazier as the all-time greatest Knick.
That's
So,
fair. As a non-Knick fan, oh man, I mean, it's unfair that Ewing is probably defined by the lack of championships, because Patrick Ewing was like a really, 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 really good basketball player for a really long time. And he played in the Michael
Jordan era, where he only got 1 swing at the pinata without Jordan in the game because he left for baseball. All right. And they made it all the way to the finals and came a game short. A game
short against like a super good Rockets team, like a crazy juggernaut of a Rockets team. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I was thinking like I would put Brunson ahead of Ewing, but you have to keep Ewing as the 2. I think that's super fair. Yeah, that's fair. I agree.
All right, a lot of the talk in Bills camp these days is injuries. Unfortunately, the Bills are really, really nicked up. You know, you get dinged up and you get banged up in camp, but Ed Oliver is dinged up. Khalil Shakir, the latest to get dinged up. There's several other receivers. Keon Coleman seen in a walking boot a couple of days ago. Nobody knows quite what the mystery is there and what's going on with him. So give me your thoughts about what's going on with the Bills here in camp, and are they going to be healthy come the start of the season?
Man, we're all going to kind of find out together. Connor McGovern, their starting center, who they retain in free agency this year, that's one of the more worrisome ones in terms of like how important he is, and then him still being out since the scrimmage, which was it was the 8th, so 2 weeks ago from this upcoming weekend. That you still think like, okay, he'll probably be ready week 1, but it's worrisome that he's not out there at all. And then Keon Coleman played well. I mean, he had a good camp this year, like he did last year, had a decent showing in the preseason game. Yeah, now he's in a walking boot. CJ Gardner-Johnson came back to practice, but hasn't been like a complete full go. Cole Bishop's been banged up, and now Ed Oliver's added, Khalil Shakir's added. It's always worrisome anytime you get injuries, but I think what's scary at this point is it's the amount of injuries and it's the names attached to it. Like all of these players are significant players for the Bills. And kind of like what we were just talking about with, if you're comparing them like to the 4 straight Super Bowl Bills, they have a bunch of good players, but they don't have like stars or studs necessarily across the board. So if your team is made up of a lot of like B- and B or maybe some B+ guys, you need kind of all of those guys collectively to balance you out against the teams that have multiple A's or A+ or S tier type of guys. And they're getting hit with those B- to B- to B+ guys, and they're getting hit like in volume at the same time, and they're also at positions of need. So it is scary, and we'll see what happens come week 1, and then that's even a thing too. Like you're playing week 1 against the Texans, so if it's like offensive players, like do you really want guys less than 100% in week 1 against a defense that wants to rip your throat out and like eat your soul? Like probably not. And it's muddy and it sucks.
All right, so let's talk about, they've got this second preseason game coming up. We'll go back and recap the first game in a couple minutes, but let's talk about the upcoming game and players that are going to make their way onto the field here. I mean, it sounds like some opportunities for guys like Josh Palmer, who should get some extended run with all the issues that are going on at receiver. And there's several other positions where we should see some guys getting some extra run and getting a chance to impress the coaching staff. So what are expectations here as they get ready to play the Cleveland Browns in a game on Saturday? They've been doing joint practices the last couple of days with the Browns.
Yeah, Joe Brady said something, I believe, today to the effect of, we'll see how the joint practices go. and then decide who's going to play Saturday and like how much they play Saturday. But there's an opportunity for some guys. Josh Palmer is definitely like I think in the top 4 wide receiver conversation. But yeah, like Keon Coleman has kind of surpassed him, especially if you're talking about like the blocking aspect and how much that leans into Keon's skill set. You still have a somewhat battle at left guard between Alec Anderson and Austin Corbett. And then, okay, at center, if Connor McGovern is down, is it Lloyd Cushenberry's job, who they brought in from free agency this year for some depth, or is it Cedric Van Pran Granger, who's been on the roster a couple years coming out of Georgia? And then you're still looking at the defensive line and all those spots, like who's going to start between Landon Jackson and TJ Sanders. Landon Jackson got more burn with the ones this past week, but Sanders looked good. There's still some kind of questions there. We're still solidifying the safety depth. We're solidifying the other starting linebacker next to Terrell Bernard. Is it Dorian Williams? Is it Caleb Elarms? Or what's happening at corner 2 now through like 3 and 4? Max Hairston, to the incumbent starter, you would think, has been banged up a bit. Davison Igbinosun, the corner out of Ohio State that they took in the second round, has been getting some burn with the ones now after it was largely Hairston's job all throughout training camp, but now he's been hurt. Like, is there an opportunity there? Has the door opened up? I do think there's a fair amount of competition from a depth standpoint in a couple open starting spots, let alone the ones that are tied to injury as well. So it'll be interesting to kind of see who plays. There's definitely some roles that need to be carved out and solidified.
Let's talk about preseason game 1. Got a chance to see the Bills in action in that beautiful brand new stadium that's still taking its hits. The latest now with the divots popping up. Let's stay away from the field for now, and let's talk about the players on the field. What did you see in game 1? Were there some people who impressed you? And what about how the head coach kind of handled game 1 in terms of who got some playing time?
Yeah, I thought Deion Walker did himself some favors with his play, especially against the run. I like the offensive approach, continuing what we saw in the scrimmage and what we saw in training camp, which has been, some under center play action leading to shots in the intermediate and some shots kind of pushing the ball downfield, increasing that average depth of target, those air yards in the throws there. I thought, kind of working in some more play action concepts off of their core run concepts, run and play action that looks just like duo. They hit it once early in the game, didn't work out. They ran it again in the second half with the 3s, and it worked out beautifully. And then defensive side of the ball, I don't think we're going to see too much from the creativity aspect of Jim Leonard. I don't think he's going to get into his bag this preseason, kind of like what like Jesse Minter in that first game for the Ravens was throwing out all kinds of fun stuff against the Eagles. But, maybe is that just a taste that he's got so much in the bag that no one cares? I think Leonard's a creative guy, but I think he's going to, for as creative as he is, I think game 1 was largely vanilla. I think it's going to stay that way. We're not going to see much from, simulated pressures or creeper pressures or blitz packages. We did see some coverage aspects, some single high stuff, some match coverage things, some split field coverages and how he was working some things in. So I think we got some more breadcrumbs to kind of push put the overall picture together. And then there were some standout individual plays. Josh Allen looked good. DJ Moore looked good. Khalil Shakir, how they started to use him, push the ball downfield to him a little bit. And then, Keon Coleman looked good as well. And then anyone else defensively? I thought Jalen Kilgore, the rookie safety from South Carolina, who's also banged up right now. I thought he had some real nice communication elements to his game. D. Alford, similar thing as well. Jordan Hancock, the second-year DB out of Ohio State, who played more in the nickel in game 1 and also flexed the safety. He might be getting some more work at safety down the stretch, as we've heard some communication from Jim Leonard this week. So overall, I think a strong performance on both sides of the ball as units, and then some standouts individually as well.
Man Child Show with Boy Green Digital at MC Show Digital. There's our YouTube link right there. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. It's absolutely free. Also, like the video on your way in or out. And don't forget memberships available if you want to support the channel in a bigger way. You can do that through our memberships, and you can get raffle tickets to free prizes. We're doing a drawing this coming Saturday, which is my birthday, by the way, August the 22nd. We do all our drawings on the 22nd of the month because 22 is my lucky number. It's not only my birthday, it's my son's birthday is a 22, and 22 is just one of those recurring themes, Anthony, that comes through over and over and over again in my life. So we made 22 our special day. So we're going to draw on the 22nd. We'll announce our winner this month's raffle on Monday's live show. So looking forward to that. We are presented tonight by Northeast Roofing Professionals, nerpcny.com for all your roofing needs, including repairs. Go see our friends at nerpcny.com right here in good old central New York in the greater Syracuse area. Today's video brought to you by our friends at Creative Florist. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back more with Anthony Prohaska. We'll get some thoughts on Jim Leonard, the new defensive coordinator, Anthony's favorite guy, at least leading up to the season. Let's see if he's still a favorite. And, of course, we'll preview the upcoming game against the Browns on Saturday. Stick around. Man-Child Show with Boy Green Digital.
Local roofing company can be tricky. You don't want to hire the wrong roofers, or you could end up spending a fortune on repairs. The pros at Northeast Roofing Professionals can ensure your home is protected by a strong and sturdy roof. Locally owned and operated, over 30 years experience, free estimates, and competitively priced. Don't settle for an inexperienced roofing contractor. Turn to Northeast Roofing Professionals. Discounts for military and first responders. Reach out and let them put a sturdy roof over your head. nerpcny.com. nerpcny.com.
All right, we are back. All things Buffalo Bills, Inside the Bills with Anthony Prohaska from Cover One. Man-Child Show with Boy Green Digital at MC Show Digital is our handle on YouTube. Of course, we send it out through our social media portals as well. So don't forget, you can like us and subscribe to us on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, or all those places as well as our home here on YouTube. All right, talking all things Buffalo Bills with Anthony. I don't know if you noticed, Anthony, the little there it is, the WWE belt behind me. See that, baby? Yeah. I mentioned it last week. There she is. That's going to go to our fantasy football champion this year in our new digital league with lots of fans of the show from the digital world. Myself and Boy Green are in that. And Fantasy Insider will do our first live show with him tomorrow. Joe Bartle from rotowire.com. Joe's been doing stuff with us going way back to the radio days, probably doing it 7 to 8 years at least with us, doing fantasy football stuff every single Friday. And Joe is going to be in our digital league. As a matter of fact, he has pick 101 and I have pick 102. So right behind Joe Bartle in the draft. Maybe I can snipe him a couple of times on the way back. Maybe he's going to snipe me a few times on the way back down, as they say in the good old world of fantasy football. So looking forward to fantasy football season. Speaking of that, one guy I've been hearing some buzz on in the fantasy circles that some people think is a sleeper, could have a breakout season in terms of his production, is Dalton Kincaid, the tight end for the Buffalo Bills. Let me ask you, as a Bills insider, are you buying or selling Dalton Kincaid in fantasy football this year? Do you think his stats are going to come up a bit? I know he's been a little bit beleaguered by injuries in the last couple seasons.
Oh, man. If he's healthy, he's legit, I think, tight end 1. I just don't know if he's going to be healthy. And
That's always the question, right?
It always is. And he was even like kind of like a little banged up kind of in training camp. It's, I don't, if you're going to take Dalton Kincaid as your tight end 1, you have to buttress him with like a high end 2 that you're comfortable with starting if Kincaid misses like games or is playing on a pitch count. Cause he's unfortunately too unreliable. And that ties into like the actual game of football, not just fantasy. Like I still think even with the addition of DJ Moore, Dalton Kincaid is the tip of the spear when it comes to the Bills passing game. But how sharp will the tip of the spear be? Is the tip of the spear going to crack? Is it going to break? Like he hasn't proven that he can stay healthy. And again, it's not for him. It's not even just, oh, he's missing time. Even when he's playing, he's still on pitch counts. So it's so muddy. I don't think you can rely on him comfortably to be you're either taking him as your tight end 1 late like in the double digit rounds because you're loaded everywhere else. Or if you're taking him, you gotta supplement him with a solid high end too, so you're not worried.
Get yourself an Isaiah Likely or somebody like that,
Fair.
just to buttress them, that'd be
Yeah,
nice.
there you
Little
go.
Bills Giants combo. We got Bills Giants guys right here. Little Bills Giants combo. Kind of like the way that works. Listen, I know, Anthony, how high you were on Jim Leonard and him running this defense this year, especially with the change at head coach. One of the questions for Leonard, and he's doing the same thing as Matt Nagy has been doing for my Giants. He's working in the box, then he's working on the sideline. He's trying to figure out where he wants to be. What's your sense about what's going on with Jim Leonard? Sounds like he's doing a little of the same thing, trying to decide what's the best place for him to be situated when we get into regular season games. Go ahead.
Yeah, he might go up into the booth this game for Cleveland. He talked about it a bit this week in the presser on Tuesday, I think, maybe Monday, Tuesday. Every day of the week is starting to blur together for me at the end of every week. But he talked about, he was on the field for game one. He's traditionally been on the field. He likes to be on the sideline there, and have the pulse of the team and the energy of the guys, as I think a lot of, coaches do. And he echoed those sentiments. But then he talked about, being up in the booth and the different vantage point, and does it help him see things differently and see things better? So he's in a feeling out process, kind of seeing what he wants to do, where he wants to go, and what that looks like. And I think that makes complete sense. And what better time to try it than the preseason? So that way, come regular season time, you're in a rhythm, you're in a routine, you know what you want, and there's no more questions, no more doubt around that.
All right, preseason game 2 is Bills and the Browns. Again, let's preview that game a little bit. What should expectations be? Let's talk about some of the players that you think could make an impact here, especially with all these injuries. Again, we talked about a little earlier in the interview, some guys going to get some chances here.
Yeah, if Ed Oliver's banged up, that means more opportunity for Landon Jackson and TJ Sanders if they do go, any odd front type of stuff or base defense stuff. And even within that too, if they're going with 4 down stuff, then, again, more opportunity for TJ Sanders, maybe even for Landon Jackson as well, who got lined up in a multitude of alignments and spots against Carolina. So I think it starts with the injury guys, right? Ed Oliver opens the door for TJ Sanders and Landon Jackson potentially. Coleman being down potentially opens the door for Josh Palmer. Maybe it opens the door for Skylar Bell if he gets healthy and he can play. Probably not. The safety depth, I think, is going to still continue to get an opportunity. Cole Bishop was playing today in the the scrimmage action against Cleveland. Do they want to play him in the preseason game? If not, then you're looking at him and Chauncey Gardner both sitting, so that it comes down to Geno Stone and DeMar Hamlin kind of battling for safety 3 and safety 4 again. If Jalen Kilgore doesn't play, does Jordan Hancock creep into the safety depth conversation type of deal? And then I think you're looking at, corner 2 again, in terms of, is Max Harrison healthy enough to play? If he does, what does the rotation look like between him and Davis Igbinosun? I think those are the big ones from an injury standpoint. Center is more just who's going to fill in for Connor McGovern if he can't go. But the other ones kind of open up the door for some real action here in the game against the Browns. And I think then aside from that, still whoever starts next to Terrell Bernard, Dorian Williams, Caleb Elarms, which started really because of injury stuff. Bernard and Williams missed essentially the whole offseason. So Caleb Elarms was getting like every single rep with the ones just by default. But now Bernard and Williams are back. So, we're starting to see how that rotation's fleshing out a little bit. So I do think there are some opportunities abound. And a good chunk of them from the injuries. And I expect the Bills to play it safe, not put anybody in harm's way, which means some guys are going to get an opportunity to kind of stamp some things for themselves.
Will there be a Josh Allen sighting, or is this going to be a Kyle Allen game, or who is going to play most of the reps at QB by your estimation?
I think you'll get 1 or 2 drives from Josh Allen. I think if they get the first drive and it's like a 6-play, 7-play touchdown drive, he's done. I think they're just going to get him a handful of plays. And then I feel like they're not going to play him in preseason game 3 because it'll be a short week. And I think they're going to just kind of shut him down. So I think he'll get some action here in game 2 and then nothing for game 3.
And what about Kyle Allen? We're going to see a lot of Kyle Allen. Is he going to be the mainstay here?
I think so. He had a couple really good throws against Carolina, like some that I went to the game and he pulled out a couple throws and I was like, oh, like it was like kind of jokingly noteworthy. Shane Buechele made some plays as well, but yeah, it'll largely be them 2. And I think Kyle Allen is your 2, Buechele is your 3, unless something dramatic happens either way.
All right, Anthony, before we let you go, plug away, man. You are getting in the midst of your season with Cover One and all the various things that you do. So tell people what you're up to, how they can get a hold of you, how they can check out some of the things that you're putting out. I know you are a film savant, as they say, and I'm sure as we get into the regular season, we'll be talking about some of that savantism that you bring to the table in terms of analyzing some of the film and breaking it down.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I host a show called Disguise Coverage, live every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. What I've been doing in the preseason, though, and I'll probably do in the regular season as well, depending on when the Bills play, doing like all film-based episodes, like on a specific player or a side of the ball or a sequence, something that's niche down anywhere from like a 20 to 45-minute video. I did one after the preseason game against Carolina, focusing solely on Deion Walker. I broke down all 10 of his plays, talked about what he was doing, Bill's schematics and structure, their fronts, what it's called, what the responsibilities are, roles, everything like that, tying it all together. And like you said, everything for me is film-based and analytics-based. You can find me on Twitter at pro__ant. That's pro 2_ANT. You can find me on Blue Sky at proant. No underscores there, just PROANT. And yeah, I'm starting to really working myself back into the routine, man, of just all the episodes, whether it's multiple a week or just one a week, all film, a mix of both. And yeah, it's I feel like the season kind of came out of nowhere and hit me in the face.
Busy time. It's funny, I was looking at our YouTube channel at MC Show Digital before we did the video tonight. And, you're just looking at some stats and some numbers and seeing how things are going. We're approaching 1,000 subscribers, so we're trying to race our way to 1,000. We just need a few more people. And I was like, wow, I think the number was, I'm just shooting off the top of my head, so I'm off a couple, I'm sorry. But I think we had 968 videos that we've put out since we've started. Now, we've only been on the air a little bit more than a year. So you just kind of put that in the blender and you say like, wow, that's like 3 videos a day, for the period of 13 months. So it's pretty remarkable how much content so many of us out there in the content world are putting out, and how much there really is to absorb, and how people have a lot of choices. But you guys are an excellent choice. I really love the stuff you guys do at Cover One. So definitely tune into Anthony's show on Tuesday nights. That sounds fantastic. Always appreciate your knowledge, bringing it to the table for us on all things Buffalo Bills. Anthony, we will talk to you again next week, my friend.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to it.